Hello and welcome back to another edition of Community Conversations. I'm Deputy First Selectman Nancy Hasse, and with me, as he regularly is Selectman Mike Payne. And for today's program, we're actually going to do something a little bit different. We've got an initial segment, and then we'll break away and we'll get into some budget discussion after that. But our first segment, with us today, we have a very special guest, Sarah Ackels. Hi, Sarah.
Hi.
How are you?
Thanks for joining us, Sarah.
Good, good. I know. I'm so glad that you could come. I know we've been talking about this for a couple months with your mom to have you here. So our program is watched by Simsbury residents, and one of the reasons we wanted to have you on the show was to talk about something extremely fantastic that you're doing. And I got a kick out of your T-shirt. It says, "Be the change you wish to see in the world" by Gandhi. And so that's a perfect segue, because I want folks to know not only what you've been up to or what you were up to last October, but what you're going to be up to this October. So why don't you start out by telling us about
Sarah Stops Hunger.
Sarah Stops Hunger. So that's your website, right?
Yeah, that's my website and the initial name of my company.
The name of your company. All
Kind
right.
of.
And you're how old?
I'm 12.
12, and you have a company. That's already impressive.
Wow.
So you tell us about the background. So you started your company and your website, but why? How did you first learn about this initiative?
Well, when I was at Tooten Hills, I learned from the Take Action Club to, be the change you wish to see in the world, said by Gandhi. And that really inspired me to try and take action and go a little bit farther than the club. And so I had the perfect opportunity when I actually went to a Feeding Children Everywhere event. And I was really inspired by the fantasticness of the event, because it was so much fun. And that first day we made tons and tons of meals, and I really wanted to do another one because I had so much fun, and I wanted other people in Simsbury to be able to have as much fun being the change also. Mm-hmm. And so I went home that day and we looked into it, and we looked it up online, and we called Feeding Children Everywhere, and who I did the event through. And so we worked and we raised $4,000 over the course of a few months. And then in October, we had an event where we made 17,500 meals.
I read that on your website. And
Oh my God.
I know. Isn't that completely impressive? So,
Wow.
So from the
That's cool.
time you went to your first event,
Mm-hmm.
you went to this Feed the Children event, and then you did some of your research. How much time was there in between before you were fundraising?
Probably 4 or 5. No, 1 month in between before I started fundraising, and then 4 or 5 months I really got into it and looked up more places where I could ask for money, and then actually went around with letters and asked people for money.
So you went around and with a little help, or all on your own? How did you go about raising your
I went with my mom.
With your mom?
Yeah.
Okay, that's helpful. Somebody
Yeah.
to drive you around.
Yeah.
Right?
Not better than writing.
So you raised $4,000, and this was from local businesses?
Yep, local
Yeah?
businesses.
And so we should give them a plug. Who were some of the folks that you were able to raise some money from?
Well, ShopRite helped me, and Keller Williams.
Real estate?
The real estate company. They donated money, and they asked all the realtors to donate money and come and volunteer, which was super helpful. And not the majority, but lots of people from Keller Williams came and volunteered, which was really great.
Yeah. I know, isn't it?
I'm blown away. It's very cool. Very,
And that's
very
why I
cool.
was so excited to have you on today, because I really wanted folks to know that, it sounds very cliche to say one person can make a difference, but it's absolutely quite true. And of course, with some help. And that's why it's important to mention the people that were behind your first event and let them know that, or thank them for their work. And I know you had an article in the Valley Press, and so they were highlighted there as well.
Yeah.
So how many people, you had this was at First Church, right?
Yeah.
So you were able to use their space. And so how many people came to help you bake 17,000 meals?
About 150, and it took about 45 minutes.
45 minutes?
Whoa.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's
It was
really
great.
neat. That's really neat. So that just goes to show you that if you had more money and a little bit more time, because you had that more money and you had more food supplies, how many more meals you could probably make, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
One meal only costs 25 cents at Feeding Children Everywhere, so it's really not hard.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean,
And
find quarters on the ground.
Hey,
In the couch at my house, that's another popular place to find
Yeah.
change. So, and I did go on the Feeding Children Everywhere website there because, so do you have to buy the food from them when you get the money you raise? They supply, because they have a particular type of package of food, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So there's lentils, dehydrated vegetables, rice, and pink Himalayan salt.
Himalayan salt. I read that because I know how good that is because it's very
Yeah.
rich in minerals, so it's supposed to be very good for you.
And so they supply you with big tubs of each of those, and you put a scoop of them in a bag, and then it's basically an assembly line, and it goes from the bag, and then the bag gets weighed to make sure that there's like the right amount of nutrition in it, and then it gets passed down and it gets vacuum sealed and then put in a box.
Wow. So then, the other thing I gleaned from the website was, so there was a local program, but then it became more international. So do you know where your meals went that you made, or?
Yeah, I actually asked Feeding Children Everywhere to keep my meals local because they do all the distribution. So I said, I want all the meals to go to Connecticut. And so some went to Windsor, some went to Hartford, places like that.
Wow.
that's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I think people don't realize,
Yeah.
and I was trying to look, and you probably have done a lot, have a lot more information, but some of the figures of hunger locally, and you know, we talk about this when we talk
Yeah.
about budget time and social services, that we have a department in town that
Yeah.
helps people that have, you know, have needs. And challenges, and so they do a lot of programs where they feed people as well. There's a lot of demand within the town of Simsbury, and so I think that's really neat that you were able to keep it local and they honored your request to do
Yeah.
that.
No,
Yeah.
that's great.
Actually, 12% of Connecticut is hungry, which is a very small figure compared to other places in the world, but also nobody should be hungry.
Nobody should be hungry.
Like,
You're right.
period.
Right. Yeah. I know it's hard to imagine. As we
Yeah.
were just talking about how asking each other how our Easters were, and talking about all of the food that we enjoyed over the Easter holiday.
Yeah, too much.
So you're right. You're absolutely right. Nobody should go hungry. So that's just a really neat background to share with everybody. But and so it's important that folks at home know what you've been up to. But you're looking to do it again. And so I think we really want people to know what they now can do themselves to each make a difference. So why don't you tell folks what are your plans coming up?
So my initial idea last year after the event, I wanted to do a bigger event and make more meals and make a bigger difference. So the goal that I set after making 17,000 meals, after aiming for 12, was that I want to make 25,000 meals.
Wow.
And it's a big number, but I think I can achieve it with lots of help, and my family has been very supportive, and now I have a website and lots more advertising like this, I guess.
There you go. Gotta tell people.
And so it's about $6,200 to make 25,000 meals, and at 25 cents a meal. But I'm thinking that I can do it with the help of Keller Williams and and ShopRite, and Walmart donated money already this year, and
Oh,
all
they
my
did.
families and friends, and I'm hoping that I can do it again and make
Okay.
it bigger.
So how much money have you raised already then?
Like $200.
$200. Okay.
Yeah, somewhere
Okay.
around there.
Yeah. So you have a little
A little
ways
bit
to
more,
go.
yeah.
A
Yeah, a
ways-
little ways to go.
No, you got some time. You
Yeah.
can
Yeah.
do it.
The
Yeah.
event's on October 3rd.
That's what I was going to ask. So October 3rd, is that a Saturday or is it? It's a weekend day.
Yeah, it's a Saturday.
It's a Saturday. And so, are you going to have it at First Church again?
Yes.
Okay. So your website, sarahstopshunger.com.
Com.
So we'll put that up on the screen so everybody
Okay.
can see that. And that's the best place for them to get in touch with you. I know you have a donate button,
Yep.
and I know that you have information up there with the details
Yeah.
on the date. And so you're looking for not only money, but you're looking for volunteers to help you. Because I guess if you kind of do the math a little bit, you've got 2/3 of last year's goal and you're adding a third to it. So if you had, what'd you say, 150 people?
Yeah.
Yeah, so you need 75 more people if you want to do it in under an hour.
Yeah.
Yeah. But so I think the challenge really is to get that money in. And is there a deadline? Because you have to order all the food, right?
Well, Feeding Children Everywhere has a lot of food at their headquarters, which we've done there. But yeah, you're supposed to have it like a month before. But even if donations come in before September, after September, before
Yeah.
October, then they can still be added to my event because a few more meals and a few more dollars and even a great amount. Feeding Children Everywhere all has the information to order lots and lots more.
So they have, are they local? Or when you said you've been to their facility, is it?
Yeah, they have one in Windsor, and they have one. The main headquarters is in Florida, and then they have other ones, but I don't remember where.
Oh, okay. All right. So your goal initially was 12,000 and you made 17,000.
Yeah.
So you already blew that out of the water.
Wow.
So,
Yeah.
wow. So yes, we have every confidence in you that you'll be able to reach your goal. And I think I speak for Mike, and unfortunately, and I should have started out by saying Sarah and Cheryl, Sean and Cheryl, a lot of S's, who are usually with us in our program are sick, so
Yeah.
they couldn't be here today. But they were excited to have you on as a guest, and I know we'll do what we can. We can make an announcement at the
Sure.
Board of Selectmen meeting, and as I said, folks here will see what the program, and we'll put up the information
Good job.
about your website, and we'll get the word out as many times as we can.
Great, thank you.
You're welcome.
happy.
And we film regularly, so we certainly will also do what we can to plug you as we head on through the next few months. That we'll keep it out there
Through the
and
summer.
keep the word up. So, well, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank
Are there
you.
any other details or anything in particular that people need to know? Or?
The one thing that I would say is a few weeks ago, Feeding Children Everywhere contacted us again and told me that about 7 or 8 other events had sparked off of mine, which was
Wow.
really an amazing feeling. How when I went to an event and I felt inspired, my event inspired other people to do the same thing, and that really felt great.
That's really neat. Well,
for you.
congratulations. And are those local? Or are they?
Yeah, local.
They are. They're local as
Yeah.
well. Okay.
Awesome.
Wow. So 7 or 8 times maybe 15 or 20,000 themselves,
Exactly.
and
yeah.
that's a lot of
It's
people.
great.
Yeah. So I'll be interested to see that 12% figure across the state.
Yeah.
If folks are also
Decreasing.
right.
Let's hope.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
going the right way.
Yeah.
Yep.
Wow. All right. Well, thank you so much.
Thank you.
And good luck. And as I said, we'll keep the word out so
Absolutely.
folks can go to
SarahStopsHunger.com.
sarahstopshunger.com. Please go to sarahstopshunger.com and make a donation and sign up to volunteer October 3rd, 2015 at the First Church so Sarah can reach her goal of 25,000 meals and $6,000 donated. So thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Sarah.
Well, we're back, Mike and I. Our first guest, Sarah, Sarah.
Oh my
How
God.
impressive was that?
That is beyond impressive.
I know.
That's
I
very
know.
cool.
Yeah, yep. So 12 years old, and she has a company, and she raised 4,000, and she's looking to raise 6. So sarahstopshunger.com. So we'll get more out about that. But we wanted to spend the rest of the program updating folks on the budget work that we've been up to. And we have an important annual date that comes up. We have our budget referendum on May 5th this year. And that will be at Henry James and 6 a.m. to 8 p.m.
8 p.m.
8 p.m. Yeah, so folks have all day long that they can get. No excuse. I'm saying that to people watching television right now. Our voter turnout for referendums
It's not as good as it should be.
it is definitely not as good as it should be. I think under 10% last year compared to some elections that are far, far greater than that. And such an important thing for people to just come out and express their opinion about. Let us know if what we're proposing is what you want to see done. Very specifically from salaries we're supporting and
Everything, police cruisers to
That's right.
plow trucks to all the stuff that makes the town work.
Right. So we went through a pretty long process that started out with workshops, and I know the Board of Finance was really looking for us not to exceed 1.7%.
Right.
They were kind of basing that off the cost of living, the COLA number. And our budget, First Selectman's budget came in at 1.7%. And then as we worked through that as a board and all the budget workshops with the town staff, which is just...
Oh, they do yeoman's work.
Yeah.
They are just great. And they really, I'd be a liar if I said they made it fun, but they made it very doable. And
we did laugh. There were
Oh, we
times that
did.
we were
We did.
laughing.
And it wasn't just late in the evening, but
Yeah.
we worked it through, and you found out all the different departments, what they do, why they do, how they do.
Right.
Lived here my whole life, and I'm still finding out stuff about how the different departments work. And
Right.
all the things. And in some cases, we reallocated stuff within the different departments so that it seemed to flow better. The senior center, not senior center, excuse me, the
Teen
social
center.
social services is now
Yeah.
managing the teen center
Yeah.
function, and I think it's a logical place for it.
Yeah.
And there were some things like that
Right.
that made a lot of sense.
Yeah, so I think, we mentioned town staff, and in particular, Joe Mancini, and we kind of laughed about the color coding that we did with our budget process, but to your point, there were some lateral moves in the budget, and, so there was a color for additions, a color for reductions, a
Since-
color for lateral moves, but it really helped us to understand, and I think
Yeah.
Lisa Hevener, First Selectman, really took a micro look at all the departments.
Yeah.
We put conference money that was originally brought into the First Selectman's
Yeah.
budget over the years back into the departments, which I think we all agreed was extremely appropriate.
Well, and it lets them decide how they're going to manage those departments. You know,
Right.
that's what they are. They're managers. And,
Yeah.
and I think that's a good thing.
Right. And I know I've mentioned before the work that we're doing with the Economic Development Task Force, and one of the discussions that's been had is around continuing education and orientation for boards and commissions, and you kind of apply that same principle to town staff. There are certain certifications they need to keep current, and we talked a lot about even economic development, and with properties like the Hartford, it's important that we're out there networking as a community to
Yeah.
let the development community know what types of
What's
development,
available, what we're doing, how
what we're
we're
looking
doing.
for.
Yeah.
So I think, again, town staff did a great job. And so from there, we talked about also the capital project. We reviewed that. And also our CNR budget. And we were a little over on that.
Yes and no. They were all things that I really think we should be doing. And we were a little more aggressive in things. And the CNR is really like you have a fund and you pay 20% of those dollars into it, so that over 5 years you refund it
Yeah.
and keep the cash flow there.
Right.
Which is a very kind of unique, but it's a very good idea.
It's a great, because you have, your annual operating, and then you've got your huge CIP stuff, and you do have, there's a bucket of sort of those in between. And so at the same time, that those in between can be costly, and they could make or break, how you're going to allocate the rest of your funds in your budget. So it's appropriate that they're not in our operating budget. But we said, let's send that to the Board of Finance. They do set a certain amount of money, and then that money is drawn out of our operating budget, as you said, that 20%. But we didn't feel right buying a truck and not a plow. And so there were parts to it that just didn't make sense. But as we talk about the great work of the staff, the Board of Finance did an outstanding job too.
We really have the right people on that board, and the dialogue with them, and understanding that just because the town has the ability to go out and bond things you've heard the phrase used before, to use our credit card.
Right.
Doesn't mean that we necessarily should, and to try to find a way to bond less money.
Right.
And but get value back. You know, we have town trucks, or every year we need to replace a couple of police cruisers. So we plan on that, and that's where the
Right.
reoccurring comes in. And as opposed to going out and you put it in your operating, and so, well, you reduce your operating by just not buying a plow truck this year. Well, then next year,
Yeah.
everything's older and it breaks down more. And after the winter we had, come on,
I
I want those guys out there.
The snow is still on the ground, mounds of it
Oh,
in
yeah.
places. So, so all that went to the Board of Finance, and then they sent it back to us. And I thought, you know, they did a nice job looking at everything, and you know, so we had couple bits of good news in terms of some money that were sort of back in to play for us. So what started out as a 1.57, I think it was our budget, now at 0.84, 0.8. I'm going to be off by 0.8.
It's under, and
It
the
is
other
under
part of the
one.
way they did that was by looking at which accounts we actually have surpluses in.
Right.
And so that we're using the money that we plan to use this year to really fund some things. And,
Right.
and again, I think it's very smart use of the taxpayers' money.
Right, right. So the other sort of big nut that we talked about was the Simsbury Farms Complex Committee was doing a lot of work looking at sort of the way that budget was structured in the past and how it was leaving them in a deficit year
Yes.
after year. And so that is an investment we make in an asset in our community. And so we were in a $90,000 hole, and we were going to split over 2 years putting that money back into that fund. But because we were able to make some of these
move the
pieces
house,
work
yeah.
around, we were able to actually fully restore that $90,000 and make them whole and give them a good starting point, because they've done a lot of work now, and they'll be very closely watching their expenses and revenues.
Yeah.
And
And they worked with the finance director to better do that,
Right.
to look at their energy use. Part of the capital plan is to update some of their facilities, which frankly, when you update a motor and all these different components, you can potentially have cost savings.
Right.
Which again flows back to
Yeah.
the town and then the residents.
Right, right. So we've got our operating budget, we've got our capital non-recurring, and then the other piece that we sent was the CIP, our capital improvement plan, which is a 6-year plan, but we only approve 1 year at a time. I think
Correct.
some folks may know that, but others may not. And so we had a lot of discussion. There was a lot that was in there for the first time, which to be approved for the year has to pass by a certain majority, and there's some rules to follow. So we're not just sort of throwing stuff in there without giving it good planning consideration.
Yes.
But $8.2 million up from 5.6. The senior community center was
Yep.
in there, and so we had what I thought was such a great discussion
Yeah.
around that particular topic. And I think we just want to clarify for folks so they're not confused. When we move forward our CIP project or budget this year, that item isn't in it specifically to be approved for the May referendum.
Right.
But the money is there. We're working right now through a lot of processes around the PAC Center and Eno Memorial Hall. And I think we unanimously expressed our desire to move through that and bring it to conclusion and get back in front of the voters to talk about exactly the plan we want to put forward.
Yeah, it's really taking the time to do it right, to get the accurate number out there instead of our best guess number. And we really want to know that this is a good number.
Yeah.
And until we actually do all the planning and get those various pieces of the puzzle, and again, town staff step to the plate.
Yeah.
And there was some sighs as we gave them direction, but they're on board, and we're gonna work our backsides, our tails off to have it
Right.
ready. We're trying to have it ready for this fall.
Right.
And that's going to be a push, but you know what? If we can get it done, we will. If we can't, it's only because it won't be done right, and then we're going to take a little more time.
Yeah.
But
Well, and I think
it's
we
still in
all
the
agreed.
pipeline.
Yeah, we didn't want to get to a certain point having not followed all the steps we felt were
Right.
critical, only not to have it be able to move forward. And I think some of the concerns, and they're good ones, and it's good to get them out on the table now. Conservation, some issues around the wetlands on the
land
PAC
use
site,
and everything.
and making sure that we are good stewards of the land in that area. And we did vote, and I should mention that the First Selectman has made a point that this will be on our agenda every meeting.
Yep.
And so, again, our commitment to making sure this moves forward swiftly. The Public Building Committee did a nice job. They spent 4 years looking at this, and now it's time to get this thing, moving forward. But we're going to put out an RFP for a new architect. The current architect got us to a certain point, but we have such a unique and special use now. We've got a historic building, and then we also have sort of a multi-use facility down there, depending upon what we end up with. And so having somebody who can best understand to give us the best picture. And then the other piece was really, and Mickey LaCoursbeck from Social Services, really getting a good, accurate, specific to our town's needs for the facility. And she's really, gonna...
And all the different pieces of it. It is, there's a lot more going on in Eno than I thought, other than SCTV.
Yeah.
But there is a lot going in here
Yeah.
at the building, and we want to really set up the senior/community center for the next 20, 50 years.
More,
and so
yeah.
we want to look forward
Yeah.
and get it right, and I know we will.
Yeah. So we have just a minute to go, and you mentioned SCTV, and I don't want folks to forget that part of the equation of this is SCTV. And then we also talked extensively about the parking deck and the streetscape improvements. So we haven't lost sight that this is a bigger picture item, and we just want to let folks know that our eyes are on all aspects of this. So a reminder is to please attend the May referendum and cast your vote. There will be a number of small budget, or not, I shouldn't say small budget items, but budget items, as there regularly are on the agenda. And then there will also be the schools, it has a project on there that just is over that 1% threshold, so that'll be on there as well. So thank you for joining us. Again, Community Conversations, Nancy Hasse and Mike Payne, and we appreciate you welcoming us into your homes and listening to what we have to say. And thank you to SCTV for all their hard work. And
Much appreciated.
yeah, and May 5th referendum. Thank you.
Vote early and once.
Funding for Simsbury Community Television is provided in part by contributions from viewers like you. Thank you.